Hey, how's it going? I'm so glad that you decided to join me. I hope your day is going well for you. Hey, I'm going to cover something that I wanted to share some of my experience with you, and basically it's focusing on what was the most valuable lessons I've learned in hindsight of being a caregiver to my bedridden dementia mom. My mom was my patient, if you will. I cared for her for 3.5 years. It was a sudden caregiving journey, something that I did not expect. And quite honestly, um, I was kind of blindsided. I knew that mom was okay to take care of herself to a certain degree. She had a little companion friend that would come over and help her and things like that. So I was free to take care of my dad. I was taking care of my dad along with Deborah, and my dad ended up um, succumbing to his illnesses and his ailments 2 months prior to my mom's needing my 24/7 caregiving help. So basically got a 2 month reprieve between parents. The difference is I had to move into her place, something I didn't expect. I was still coming off the 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 grief. Actually, I never got to grieve my dad. The shock. That's probably a better way of putting it. I was coming down from the shock of losing my dad and coming back to my normality of living because it had consumed so much. When you're a caregiver, it consumes so much of your life. And I was finally getting acclimated to what's normal again. And then 2 months later, boom, almost to the day, 2 months, my mom fell and needed my help. I thought it was a 2 week stint. I packed a 2 week overnight bag and I ended up living out of that bag for 3.5 years. No joke. My point of putting this video out is to teach you a little bit about my experience so that you kind of have an idea what to expect if you're caught into that circumstances. And I'm going to do the classics of what we learned about in journalism to ask the 5 questions, all the W's and that elusive H: who, what, why, where, when, and how. And I'm going to cover those 5 points just in caregiving. First of all, let's start out with who. The caregiver role. Hopefully, you have an extended family or siblings or family that's able to step in and share the role of a caregiver. A lot of times, people don't understand what's at stake when it comes to caregiving, and rightfully so. Nobody puts it on their list of things to do in their life, especially when you're in your 40s or your 50s, your 60s. I've seen people in their 70s and 80s having to take on this role. I've seen it all. But hopefully, you're not in a situation that you're in a sandwich generation. If you don't know what a sandwich generation is, it's where you are in a relationship, you have your own children, but then you're also taking care of your elderly parents and you're caught in the middle. That's what they consider a sandwich generation. But if the other point, which is very valid, and I'm meeting a lot of people this way, they're only children. They don't have siblings. The burden is placed on them. But in the case of that, sometimes they find a lot of people with single children, families, uh, they make their own. They know how to make their own friends. They know how to make their circle of people. A lot of times, cousins will step in, but that's the whole thing with the caregiver role. You kind of have to plan ahead because you know that your loved ones are getting older, and you kind of have to figure out, okay, this is what I'm going to do when so and so gets older. Who's going to step up and take the reins? How are we going to deal with this? Have that already pre-planned and set. What are you going to do? Who's available? Who's more likely to be that person? Are you willing to do that? All these decisions made ahead of time are going to make a life a whole lot easier for you and the loved one. There's no guessing. You just kind of go into that mode and things will slowly define itself as you go along, but at least have that part set up. I had it set up with my sister. My sister ended up moving to Hawaii. That's it. Just life doesn't stop. But it was always understood that I would take care of my dad and she would take care of my mom. But when she up and moved to Hawaii, things changed. A lot of things changed. And I wasn't prepared after 2 months after losing my dad that I would be taking care of my mom. Logistically, it just made sense. I didn't like it. And that has to do with personal issues because I didn't get along with my mom. But whatever. You just make ends meet and you work it out as you go along. But have that set up. That's the who. Who's going to step up? The next one we're going to cover is the choices, the financial burdens. And it's kind of like, why? Why are you choosing this course of action? You know, are the financial burdens for caregiving, is it money? Is it a respite? Is it a job? These are the things you need to think about. Do you have the financial stability to carry such a burden? What are the likelihoods that we can put them in an off-site setting, like a memory care, active living, what type of housing, what kind of home? Is it a group home that we need to consider? What kind of advanced healthcare, long-term healthcare plan do we have available to us because of the financial burdens? Who is going to help out with that? Chances are, even in my case, I had to figure out my mom's financial situation, and my mom did not have any money. And I was in no position to carry that. Nobody is. At least in my story, nobody was. But we made it work. But as a caregiver, not only are you just physically caring for them on a medical level, but you're also dealing with them on a financial level. And that was hard because I had to figure out, Mom, where's your money? Where is the money that's going to sustain us so that I can continue to do this? You know, we couldn't afford to have a home for her. She had a home. And then it's like you have to figure out what you're dealing with and why you have to make certain decisions based on your financial burdens. That's the why. Why did you just decide to go in this direction? You really need to figure out the financial part first before you can make any further decisions, which then leads you to the third part, which is where. What are you committing yourself to? Are you committing yourself to putting this loved one into a group home? Do they need to go to memory care? Can they be in an active living facility? Or is there a way that somebody can stay with her at the house? This all takes money. That's why we say to do the financial part, but then you got to figure out where is this going to happen? You know, I was not prepared to move into my mom's house. But when I brought her to the ER for head trauma and the attendant goes, who's staying with her? She can't stay home alone. I'm like, oh man, are you serious? I didn't say that out loud. I didn't say it in front of my mom, but I'm thinking this because I'm like going, oh my gosh, it's only me. I'm the only one. I looked at the guy and went, yeah, okay, it's me. I'll be with her. But I was only thinking of a couple of weeks. I didn't think it was anything else because when you're there, you start to see the truth about everything. You start to see the things that, well, out of sight, out of mind. And I started to notice a lot of things. And when I realized that there was a lot more that was happening that I was not aware of, I realized I've got a lot to do here and I need to figure it out fast. And as I'm figuring out, I'm learning that my mom was deemed as dementia. And when you're trying to figure it out, they can't always answer the questions for you. It's it's hard. Mom, where'd all your money go? Mom, why is this not paid? Mom, and all you get back is, I don't know. Is there something wrong? I pay everything because she's living in her own world. Her mind has her own world, and you have to decipher what's her world and what's reality. It's not easy. So not only are you trying to figure out how to be a caregiver to your loved one, now you're in this like thing where you got to figure out everything that's gone wrong and how to fix it financially. But getting back to it, the financial burden, you need to figure out, is there money to put them in a group home, in an active living facility? Do you have to keep her at home? Do you have to be at the home? Can you afford to hire somebody? Is there somebody that is willing to, for a price, live at the house? Can that be possible? Will they, sometimes your loved one doesn't want any stranger in the house. Rightfully so. I understand that. Or what happened to me? Are you willing to move in so you don't have to have that added expense? Are you willing to move in? What is the burden that's going to be placed on you? What is actually going to be needed to meet that need? Which then leads me to the other W. What? What's at stake? Do you really understand the sacrifice that's involved? You have to decide who's going to be the caregiver and what role they're going to play. Are you going to share the time, the duties? Is there somebody to split the time and the caregiving duties with? Do you have the financial stability to make and complete whatever that choice is? The other thing is, where is this going to occur? Is it going to require you to move in? Is it going to require, do you have the financial fortitude to be able to do what you want to do? Wanting to do and needing to do could be two different things. You have to figure that out. But when it comes to what's at stake, what is a sacrifice that's being made? Without getting into any detail, I will tell you my sacrifice was great. I lost a lot. Well, I'll put it this way. When I left to go take care of my mom, my world as I knew it was not the same after 3.5 years. It completely changed. And I'm currently going through those changes. And that's about all I'm going to say for right now. Does not mean I'm not going to address it later on, but I'm in the middle of things. But you have to really think about, when you make a commitment like this, what the cost is for yourself. You take all those factors we just discussed. What are the sacrifices? Because there is a big sacrifice to be made on everybody that contributes. And just understand that, because if you don't understand that, a lot of resentment can occur. And built up resentment creates a bitterness. And bitterness eats away at you. And it makes things pretty ugly. And I'm trying my best to have you understand so you don't hit the road of bitterness. Bitterness is not something you don't want in your life. But if you all understand the commitment and what the sacrifices are to make that commitment, it would make things a lot easier and pleasant for everybody involved. Let's understand this. Your greatest sacrifice will be time, your time. I think that's probably the greatest thing that you're probably ever going to understand is that time becomes something precious, and it is a commodity that is utilized to the nth degree that you can never get back. So you need to have a great understanding when it comes to sacrificing your time. You could always say, hey, I'm doing the gallant thing. I'm honoring my parents. I'm honoring my loved ones, doing what I'm doing. But please, for your well-being, because at the end of the road, you will be the one left standing. Please understand the sacrifice. And number 5, the elusive H, which is how. Understanding dementia. And I'm going to make this completely, it could be for caregiving in general, but I'm going to talk about dementia because that's what I dealt with. Understanding dementia is a whole different facet of learning, of understanding, of commitment. Because not only are you dealing with caring for your loved one, not only are you dealing with caring for your loved one's financial burdens, not only are you caring for the well-being of your loved one, but when you throw dementia into this, it changes the paradigm and heightens everything completely. I will say this much. I didn't know anything really about dementia until my mom fell, and I really started paying attention to her household when I moved in. And when I started to realize what I was dealing with, part of my frustration was not knowing anything about dementia. I knew about Alzheimer's. I didn't know that Alzheimer's was actually dementia. It's a form of dementia. Everybody seems to talk about Alzheimer's because it's got the most exposure, and people know that it's a horrible, horrible disease that creates memory loss. That's one of the prevalent characteristics of Alzheimer's. Your brain is literally dying. It doesn't function anymore. But that is actually what dementia is. Parts of your brain don't work the way they used to. And that's what you're dealing with. And for the caregiver, it's very hard to distinguish what is really them and what is this disease. Because a lot of times, parts of their brain are working like normal, and they can hold full-on conversations and have visits with doctors and specialists, and they could do a fantastic performance. It's showtime for what, 10, 15 minutes? And you get them to the car and they're like, I don't know how many times my mom pulled that off. I'm like, how do you do that? You took a mini mental test and you passed it and you did fantastic. And you hold conversations, you get to the car, and all of a sudden it's like I end up with mush. Hindsight, man. I'm just like, I can't believe I went through that. And I can't believe the things that I've learned in the process. But you learn them as you go. You have to. You learn on the fly. But really, what saved my hide, and I say this all the time on my videos, I don't know how I found these people. I don't know how I found this program, but Dementia Care Blazers, run by Dr. Natalie Edmonds, who's a geropsychologist. And she teaches you how to deal with dementia patients, how to function in the relationship between you and your loved one, how to function as a caregiver, what to do, what not to do, how to understand what dementia is and how it affects you. There's different facets of dementia. There's like a whole umbrella in this, a whole different types of dementia. And Dementia Care Blazers is worldwide. People meet and we discuss our cases with each other. Some have more extreme than the next, some have mild cognitive issues, and some are like, but we all start in the same spot. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. I don't know what I'm doing if I'm doing it right. I don't understand everything. I just know that I'm going crazy in the process, trying to take care of someone that I just don't understand. And understanding dementia, you don't fully get it, but it's a process. You learn. And I will always speak very fondly and very highly of Dementia Care Blazers, because those Care Blazers, they are my family. They understand things that no one else will understand. My loved ones, my inner circle, my own family doesn't understand what the other Care Blazers understand of me and what I've been through, because nobody will ever understand it unless they're in the trench doing the caregiving with you. It's a sad truth, but people don't know how to be around other caregivers. They don't know how to support them properly, because if you're not in it, you will never understand it. And you'll meet like-minded people that will help you. So the how is, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with someone that's dealing with dementia? My dad didn't have dementia. He was in renal failure. His kidneys were failing, which led to congestive heart failure. And then he got some sort of rare blood plasma thing. It wasn't leukemia, but they treated it like leukemia. So he died of completely different things. But that didn't make my caregiving journey any easier. I mean, he was up and walking up to his last day. My mom wasn't. Sometimes she would repeat herself over and over and over again. You know, it was two different roads. But please remember this: as a caregiver, 67% of caregivers get more sick and have a risk of expiring before the loved one that they are actually taking care of. Why? Because the amount of stress, the amount of emotional burdens that are placed on the caregiver are so extreme that it creates issues within physiological issues within the caregiver. They always say, take respite, take the time off, do what you need to do to take care of you. Because honestly, no one could do a caregiver job and do it well if they're not well. It's a hard lesson, but it's a real lesson. So, recapping a little bit, ask yourself the who, when, why, where, what, and how of caregiving. Watch this video over again. Those are my valuables in hindsight, post caregiving. And I hope it helps you figure out what you need to do. Plan ahead. Communicate. Communicate with your family and your loved ones. Have a game plan. If you can, find out about your loved one's situation so that you don't go into things blindly. It always helps. And from there, you can kind of decide what you need to do. In the meantime, I hope this video finds you in good health. Always stay blessed. And remember to take good care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. And please remember to hit the subscribe button. We are trying to grow our channel and reach 1,000 subscribers. Now, for every new subscriber, these two nutheads right here, they're going to get a treat, so we will all be happy. Thanks for watching.